Founders of Alexandria. By Star Scribe. Part 1. Interlude. August 25, 2015. Dear Journal. Our latest salvage operation to St. Louis ended better than I could have predicted. No rabid animal attacks this time, and as a matter of fact no pony even needed their rifles. I wish we didn't have to keep them with us so often, but until we get better with our powers, better to have a gun and not need it, right? I'd be dead like 3 times now if I hadn't learned how to shoot. We found everything we'd planned to bring back in the city. 2 new motorhomes for Alexandria's thriving trailer park. It's funny, I had no idea RVs were made with this level of luxury before the event. Oliver's has a balcony. Whatever. I want to live in a house with a balcony. When I was younger, we went to Newport Beach once. I'm not sure how Mom paid for the hotel, I think it was a friend's reservation or something. I sat on the balcony and watched the ocean for hours, fell asleep out there. Woke up with mosquito bites all over my face, because of course that was my luck. I wonder if mosquitoes would try to bite me if I slept outside in northern Illinois. Aside from the 2 RVs, we also brought the truck we loaded last time, the one we filled from the Tesla dealership. Okay, so it was mostly floor models, but we'd already known that Tesla had problems with stock. Shame their headquarters was so close to Los Angeles, it's probably ashes now. I used to love driving by their showroom in LA. Batteries do not live forever, and the batteries in electric cars like these will not be easy to replace. Tesla vehicles are so specialized that I know very little about how to repair them. My garage wouldn't touch them, so I never really got to tinker. This means the transport truck full of them we brought back with us is only a stopgap measure, eventually we'll need to make biodiesel of our own. With so many dead vehicles, it's likely we could keep a few running from spare parts for a century if we had a way to preserve a few dozen vehicles we aren't using. So that makes the final inventory, -1 sedan, plus 2 RVs, plus 1 auto transport truck and contents, plus 1 luxury pickup, plus 1 cargo truck. 60 kilowatts additional weatherized solar panels, 10 boxes assorted digital media, 1 freaky bug. Our next trip will be in 3 days, though I think Adrian's going to be sitting out. Next mission, deep cycle batteries. Joseph's computer magic indicates there is a shipping crate full of said batteries waiting in a warehouse to be shipped out west. There's a catch, though. They're dry batteries, actually, this is good for us, kinda, which means they haven't been filled yet. St. Louis also has several chemical plants. We'll have to fill a transport truck with sulfuric acid of the correct concentration, without melting our hooves off. You might ask, why the hell are you doing something so stupid, Alex? Aren't there auto shops and golf carts all over the world with batteries already filled and ready to go? Why melt your face? Yes, I answer. That's just the problem. I'm thinking long term, baby. Batteries are all about chemical reactions. It takes acid to get the reaction going. No acid in the battery, and it won't degrade. We can keep them in storage for decades if we want. Fill them up, and they'll be ready to accept a charge like we'd just picked them up at the store, even if the stores are all gone. The more I think about it, the less this sounds like a good idea. Getting the acid now, I mean. It's not like it's going to keep. Manufacturing sulfuric acid isn't actually that complicated. I read up on the process during the drive back. Okay, listened up. Whatever, same thing. Taking this drive half a dozen times doesn't make it more fun than it was the first time. I'm discovering a newfound love for audiobooks. Public libraries often have tons, did you know that? I prefer the non-fiction ones. My life is fantasy enough without reading fiction. Probably another fuel truck, maybe another RV or 2 during our next trip. We're running out of time. We could get snow in as little as 2 months, which means the more often we travel now, the better. I don't expect too much to decay in a single year, but once winter comes, we're not going to be able to travel very easily. I would like to have enough stocked locally that we can keep working, weather permitting, through the cold months. I think we're well on track. We'd be closer if Joseph took driving lessons a little more seriously. So I finally got someone to come with me to the St. Louis City Museum. If you've been reading, you know it isn't a museum at all, but a gigantic indoor playground. It's a playground the same way old chemistry sets used to be in the 50s, with little vials of acid and real uranium in every box. I learned this a little, too personally. The building is divided into several different sections, each of which is large enough for a human adult but would probably be much more comfortable for a child. We heard something when we got there, Adrian and I. It was a child crying, probably just a filly, she was just a filly, but we didn't know it yet. Adrian's faster and better about getting around in tight spaces, so I lost him pretty quickly. I think I must have got turned around somewhere in the dark, because I sprinted into a part of the playground that was still under construction. Holy crap, was it unsafe! Power tools just sitting there, rusty metal bars just sticking out of the ground at chest level, some pretty sharp from where they'd been cut. I know I've never worked construction, but there's no chance in hell this place would have passed any kind of inspection. I guess the most fun places usually were that way. It's fine, though. It hurt less than last time. I'm taking some penicillin to be safe, but I don't think I'll get anything. I was up with all my shots before it happened. As usual, no pony noticed, I made sure of that. I cleaned up pretty good before I went looking for Adrian. It wasn't as though he was going to get hurt finding a kid somewhere locked up in the building. He could wait for me to find some water and clean up. I went through the building much slower the second time. The others hadn't really gone far, and I waited outside for them to find me before I went in. Yeah, sight and sound. Yeah, I set a bad example. It made sense, okay. I didn't like the idea of risking any of the others might make my mistake. Found Adrian upstairs. Just like I thought, he'd found the kid. There's no getting around this, she's something weird. When I first saw her, I felt afraid. Kinda like I did with the HPI, but not the same. More like, what I'd fear for a wolf. It was like being near a predator. I could see she had fangs, so that makes sense, I guess. I'm not sure what I would have done if Adrian hadn't been there to stop me. Probably run away. Ponies like to run away. It's in our genes. Adrian stopped me, and with his help I saw that she wasn't some predator at all, she was another human left behind, another person whose life was completely screwed up by the event. She got double screwed, while her sex and age seems to have remained the same. She'd become a species that regular ponies find disturbing and dangerous. She seems to be a very different kind of life than ordinary ponies. Like seeing a spider, but way worse. Picture, the biggest, ugliest bug. Lots of thick armor bits, wings, gross stuff, now make it almost as big as you are, and would have been as big, if she wasn't a kid. That's Riley, Riley the bug. Riley is also a 12-year-old little girl, one without the slightest clue what she's become or why. She's an innocent child who has done nothing wrong. Yet other ponies have abandoned her in the city. We aren't the first to pass through. Some even tried to hurt her if her story is true, but she ran away. So what is her story? Apparently she was with her class on a field trip, spending the night in the museum. Next thing she knew, she was alone. You get the rest. She thinks she's been alone in there for a few weeks, but she can't tell us exactly how long. She doesn't keep a diary. She said she ate food from the cafe downstairs, which I believe. There was so much rotten food up there, and all of it looked like it'd been stolen from some place like that. Pretty disgusting, really. A little kid was left alone to fend for herself, in a world she thought hated her for nothing she did. She was forced to eat rotting food and live in a scary room full of taxidermied animals. Well, maybe not forced. She could have left and lived anywhere. But she's a kid, and anyway we might not have found her otherwise. We don't have some magical pony senses, we don't have any way of tracking down the ponies who don't make tons of light and sound or don't come to us. She didn't really, but by sheer chance, we happened to want to visit the same building she did. Maybe there's a lesson there. We can better anticipate where we'll find other survivors by making sure they want something at a place we can find. I guess that makes sense. That's Mariah's logic about the library. And I can understand for now. I'm sure we'll be able to change that once we've got copies made of every book. The sooner we get that knowledge working in the world, the better. The others are, let's just say, less than enthusiastic about her. Cloudy Skies is scared out of her mind, won't get within 20 feet of her no matter how many people tell her it's safe. Mariah thinks that her story doesn't check out, says that it's possible she's actually older and that she's got some nefarious plan in mind. Oliver says she looks like she's dangerous, and there are things about her biology he can tell can't be good for us. He'll still talk to her and pretend to be nice, which is good. Joseph was actually the kindest, he just seemed ambivalent and disinterested in her. I don't understand how the others can treat a little girl this way. She's the freakiest thing I've seen in my whole life, but since when is that her fault? Riley didn't want to leave at all that night, so Adrian stayed the night with her. I was a little nervous about it, but it's been long enough that the predator population in cities has plummeted pretty sharply. Might as well enjoy the respite before all the natural predators like wolves and stuff move in and fill the void, right? Adrian didn't want to leave the girl, so I did my work preparing our vehicles alone. Spent the night in our outpost, of course, nothing eventful there. I wish Joseph and Mariah would keep it down sometimes. I can't wait to see the look on her face when she ends up pregnant. I'll draw it, see if I don't. Adrian spent the night convincing the girl to come with us. She was afraid of all sorts of things, her family coming back and missing her chief among them. We delivered the hard news, and Adrian and I drove her to her old house. She knew where to find it. Nothing was there. You know the drill. While she was packing some old things, I snagged a picture of her from the wall. We're going to have a meeting about her tomorrow, once she goes to bed. I'm gonna bring the picture, so they can see. Nobody mentioned bug bunnies during my week tour in Equestria. I didn't see anything like her, or else running into her wouldn't have been so startling. But if they're in the transformation spell, I bet they're in the library too. Something to look into tomorrow as well. Adrian's furious. I bet he would have left Alexandria if I wasn't here to calm him down. Riley is going to be living with him for the time being. He suggested she live with me, but she didn't want to, and I'm ashamed to say I was glad. I know she's just a kid, I know she's safe and everything, but I'll sleep better at night with just cloudy skies in my house. Of course, there is another serious concern with Adrian, one we didn't mention to him but every pony was thinking. His wing. We all saw it, what he'd been keeping covered for all this time. He let it get bad. It was all I could do to keep Oliver from grabbing him right there. In the interests of sanity, and not separating him from Bug Bunny, I got him to wait until we got back to Alexandria. Tomorrow, after our meeting, we're staging a medical intervention. We will not let Adrian's wing kill him. Lonely day, not the loneliest. It's hard to draw her as scary as she looks. I couldn't really do it, but I did my best. Author's note. Hey everybody! So I'm not switching styles for the story. I just wanted to throw in a little interlude section between each character's part, to sorta tie everything together. They may all be journals, or they may not. I might use them to experiment with other things too, we'll just have to see. End author's note.